And I'll be honest here and say, I know most people will feel mad, but let's be honest, it's just like what the new party is doing, Yakina Rigiji. They, yes, you guys, you talk a lot, you have rallies, but in Central, to Kenya Central.
So again, I think this is a false start, but yeah, you have something you wanted to add.
So I think Ricky G has realized that there's the cloud of being a Kikuyu kingpin over him.
Yes.
And that's where the Cousins is coming from. I don't know if you've been on the internet,
Yes.
but Hi Cousins is his way of saying that, yes, I'm Kikuyu, but I have many cousins that support me, other Bantu communities, and that's what he was talking about when he was it the coast? Yeah, he was at the coast, yeah.
Do you feel like we might also be falling into a similar trap to where we were? Because as you can see right now, same situation. Ruto was Uhuru's vice president, but he was completely sidelined. And now we have Rigiji, who was Ruto's deputy president, and he was not only sidelined, but he's been impeached. And now he's talking against Ruto, and he's becoming, popular, like a folk hero. He's even coming to the diaspora, and I can already see meetings being organized, town halls and everything. So do you feel like we might be, like slowly, without knowing, getting into the same trap?
I want to be optimistic and say we can't do the same story twice. I mean, unless they come with a new story that we haven't seen.
Now, tonight we mark almost a year since the Gen Z revolt shook the streets of Nairobi and the soul of a nation. It was a moment when young people stood up not just to protest a punitive finance bill, but to demand dignity, accountability, and demand a new vision for Kenya. The smoke from the tear gas may have cleared, but the memory of the over 65 killed by police bullets and over 80 abducted or disappeared still lingers fresh in the air. But with the recent killings of Albert Ojwang while in police custody and the shooting of mask vendor Boniface Mwangi Karaoke, tonight we ask if anything has truly changed, or are we back where we started? To help us unpack are two phenomenal women from the newly formed 625 movement. They're young leaders who've stepped into the space with courage, clarity, and conviction. First up is Joanne Ampaso, a community engagement strategist and a social media outreach powerhouse. Now, Joy is passionate about advancing ethical leadership and inclusive development. She also has a background in scientific research and a sharp eye for community-driven solutions. Joy believes the future of Kenya lies in empowering the next generation of leaders. So I want to take this opportunity to say, Joy, welcome to the One Mic Show. Karibu, karibu sana. How are you feeling today?
I'm so excited to be here. It's such an honor, always talking about Kenya and how we can improve our country. So I'm excited to be here. I love how engaged your community is, and I'm looking forward to a productive conversation.
Okay, and how does it feel being in the studio today?
I feel ready to activate. You know how you're ready to just have good conversation? That's how I'm feeling right now.
Okay. All right. Karibu, karibu sana. And also with us tonight is Sheila Waweru. Sheila is a brilliant researcher and an advocacy specialist with a deep background in governance, peace building, and media. She holds a master's in global humanities from Towson University and a bachelor's in journalism from USIU Africa. Sheila has worked across both grassroots and international settings, from supporting civil society networks to peace-building efforts in Sudan to running digital advocacy campaigns. Sheila's journey is one marked by equity, justice, and fearless truth-telling. Sheila, karibu sana to the One Mic Show. How are you feeling today?
Thank you so much for having me. A little bit intimidated because this is quite the stage, but I'm happy to be here.
Okay.
You don't sound intimidated.
Yeah. What exactly is intimidating? Is it the mic?
Take it till you make it.
Huh?
Higher.
I mean, I'm sat opposite a wall where Bien put his signature. That's what's intimidating. But yeah.
Oh. So are you gonna book your space next to Bien's signature?
Definitely.
Hatuwezi charge.
Well, like maybe we might send an invoice chini ya maji
Kwa sababu watu wa research muaga nasikia do waga zina dojo.
Okay. Haya, sawa. Karibu sana Sheila. Now, Sheila, what when you look back at last year's uprising and where we are now, what stands out the most to you?
I think when I look at what's happening last year and what's happening this year is that I see there's a lot of similarities. It almost feels like we're still in the same place, except that it's a slightly different fight. For instance, last year we went to the streets because of a finance bill, and this year we're going to the streets because of police brutality in Kenya. But the difference or the similarity is that there's these small issues that pop up, and then it converts into Ruto must go.
Okay.
So that's the similarity we're seeing. And it's almost spiritual in a sense that it always happens in June. If you even think about Sabasaba, though Sabasaba is in July.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it.
Something about the temperature. It starts rising when June gets June gets here.
Yes.
Now back to you, Sheila. What was going not Sheila, sorry, to Joy. What was going through your mind this time last year as the Gen Z revolt took shape? Joy.
For me, last year, I think a year from now, which is crazy because time really flies. I can't believe it's already been a year. But at the time, last year in June, I think there was an innocent excitement. I mean, I remember just being happy to be around other young people, other Kenyans, feeling some FOMO from not being able to be on the streets in Nairobi. And I feel like that was the energy on June 25th. There was a lot of, as I said, innocent excitement. I don't think people realized the lengths of depravity and brutality and bloodshed that would follow. And I think what I feel right now, actually, I feel inspired that people, not just people my age, but Kenyans, despite all of the treasonous things that have been done to them, they still have that spirit of revolution in them. Despite seeing the disappearings, the murders, that every morning we wake up to something new. You honestly can't keep track of how many people are being disappeared. So I think I'm inspired by the Kenyan spirit that despite everything, they're still on the march and trying to make a better country for themselves.
Okay, amazing. Joy. And I can see some comments already coming in. Sasha Spice Africa anasema poa, nitawasalimia njoo kabisa all the way from Zanzibar. And Sasha anasema salute to all the children we lost and have continued to lose in Kenya. Fighting a systemic oppression, we shall not relent until we get back our nation. Very powerful coming from Sasha Spice. And then hapa Esther Mulusa anasema greetings from Shimalavandu at this witching hour.
Abandu banje murembe
Yeah.
munomusakulu.
So hiyo hapo Esther Mulusa ameitoa, but I read it, I captured it before itoe. Amesema at this witching hour. So Esther, maybe tell us a little bit more about what's going on in Chimalavandu at this hour.
There are some witches there.
Yes, and then Stephen Batiapa all the way from Dallas, Texas, anasema we are here, we are in the building, karibuni sana. And again, the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. We want to hear from you. Let us know what you're thinking. It's almost a year later since Parliament was stormed and more than 65 Gen Zs were killed. And then I can see hapa Esther Mulusa pia anasema good tidings from Shimalavandu at this witching hour over here. So yes, so Esther Mulusa is admitting that she's witching. Please define to us what witching is. Was it a typo of watching? Ama maybe there's something.
Maybe she went bewitching.
Yes,
She might have meant bewitching juu kuna vile mabati ilipigwa akilala.
Because unajua kama angekuwa yuko hii county inaitwaje? Hii county inaitwa Kisii County ama Nyamira County. Kama angesema
Boss, it's from Kisii downwards.
It's downwards.
Yeah, from Kisii downwards.
Okay.
Yes.
Haya, DJ Moshfire.
Kisii
Karibu sana.
utateketezwa.
DJ Moshfire, karibu sana.
Asante sana.
Yes.
Mjukuu wa Masai.
Yes. So from the few things you've heard from the amazing ladies that we have on the panel tonight,
Yes.
what are your expectations tonight?
I expect them to come out with signs of Ruto must go. They'll be over here singing praises for whoever their new leader is. Let's find out. They're going to be telling us what they're feeling now, where they're seeing us going in the future, and how we can help push this journey along.
Okay, all right. Asante sana DJ Moshfire. And then we want to go to Mika Och. Mika Och tuned in Zoom. Mika, talk to us. What are your expectations tonight? Mika, twende kazi.
Oja
Come slowly.
ngoma.
Yes, Mika.
Ningekutukana ni vile tuko tu live on air.
Haya, twende kazi Mika.
Go for it, Mika.
Yeah,
Go for it.
Talk to us. What are your expectations tonight?
First of all, ngoja kwanza acha nisalimie watu.
Okay.
Hii haraka kurukia ugali hata janawa. Anyway, all in all, happy Friday, people, and I hope you enjoyed the Juneteenth. It was a good weekend. It was a good holiday, and it's a holiday that people should be proud of and enjoy it.
Correct.
Hizi hizo zingine, hii unafaa kuwa unatoka huko nje unatwak kwa giza kwanza unarudi kwa nyumba. And what my second thing is, Shimalavandu was a nickname that was given to our school bus in high school, Kakamega High School. Ilikuwa inaua watu sana. Kanyaga wanafunzi wengi sana.
What?
So yeah, so it was called Shimalavandu. Like Shimala means inamaliza. Vandu ni watu, inamaliza watu. So in short, Esther Mulusa is telling you she's in Kakamega. Witching hours, it's early in the morning. Witches ukimbia saa hii.
Oh damn.
Wale watu wa kupiga mabati, si ndio?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what she's trying to tell you when she says that. Yuko Shimalavandu at this witching hours. Like she's basically in Kakamega and it's early in the morning.
Okay.
Or late at night.
Okay.
Actually, late at night, see, early in the morning.
Okay, now understood.
Night, yeah.
Now understood. I know now to be careful. If I ever go to Kakamega, I only will do my activities during the day.
Kwani Ali si nyinyi mko na majini? Si ziko same WhatsApp.
Unajua naitrana si naitrana zo usumbua tu ni wachawi. Si like naitrana wala kukimbia tu. Wakugonga vitu. Witches, like see witches wale wa Harry Potter, Expelliarmus. No, wani wa kukimbia tu. Hao wengine wanaishi Ukambani na Kisii na areas zingine. Anyway, what I'm expecting from this hour is that we are getting to the anniversary of the June 25th protests, which shaped the history of Kenya, like totally shaped the history of Kenya. A lot of people might look at things and say they seem okay, but if you realize right now in Kenya, there's that fear of how will the masses react? Will this put people back in the streets? This is actually forced a handshake that was never in the works anywhere to be seen. So the political landscape has shifted. And also now we are seeing that as much as things look like they are the same, this is the first time politicians have fear of the public. Most of the time, they usually regard the public as servants for them. They will command them and they will demand what they want to do. So what I'm expecting from this conversation today is, what are we seeing since that time? How are we seeing how things are looking? And how do we participate and help in a way without taking away the meaning of the fight from the people in the ground, kwa sababu kuna kuanga na disparity kubwa between diaspora and the ground, and that is one disparity that we need to figure out how to work to shake off and to close that gap. When you see politicians coming here in America to see you and to talk to you, it's your money that they want, and they know you have influence outside there. So when we get to understand what the ground is feeling and how they need, those politicians know exactly what power we have. Ni sisi na disparity yetu ndo tutumiangi power yetu vizuri. We need to figure out how to do that.
So
back to you.
Yeah, Mika, you bring up a very interesting point. You know, you're already in chapter 5 na tuko tu intro. Now, I saw a flyer going round that Rigiji is going to be coming to the US. Now, in America, yes, Rigiji is going to be coming into the US, I think, in July, if not the end of June. It's going to be coming in the US. And my question to you, we know that there are very few registered voters in the US. I mean, there was the registration exercise did not go too well the last time. And you say that the politicians in Kenya are looking at the diaspora, yet we do not have numbers. But you're bringing the point that they're after our money, which I think a lot of people have not given deep thought. I've also been seeing Matiang'i making rounds. I've seen him make rounds in Dallas. I've seen him. I don't know. He lives
He
in
made rounds
DC.
in Minnesota, wakampromise chopper.
Oh, he lives in
Watamnunulia
DC?
chopper ya
Yes.
kucampaign.
Yes.
Yes, Matiang'i actually lives in DC. He was working for the World Bank. Yeah, so those are the things you get to know when you come to the One Mic Show.
Mungemsalimia earlier,
Actually,
but yeah.
ukienda Swahili Village ya Bellsville every Tuesday
Yeah.
utampata huko.
Yeah, but one thing that's off
Surely,
topic,
Mika.
Mika, man. One thing that's a bit off topic, that I don't know whether I should be saying this, but anyway, because I know his supporters watanisikia. I think one tactical error that Matiang'i has made, in his, he hasn't declared, but he's clearly showing interest.
Correct.
But
He
one,
has declared today.
or he declared
Yeah,
today.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
today is when
yeah.
Okay,
yes,
so I missed that.
he went home and declared.
But I think
Yeah.
one tactical error he made with the crowds he started meeting, especially here in the diaspora, they were all Kisii crowds. And if you're looking to become a Kenyan president, one thing that Raila was able to do very effectively. I know Raila is not very popular amongst the Gen Z in studio, but one thing that Raila was able to do
Baba
very
can do
effectively.
no wrong.
One thing that he was able to do very effectively
Akoende.
was to posture himself as a national leader. He always
Correct.
had so many different people around him.
And faces, yes.
He was very careful
Different
about
yes.
being surrounded by Luos. And that's
Even
a
the way he was
tactical
sitting, Ali, we had inside information. Even
Yes,
the way
he
he
was
sat at,
Yes.
at a news conference
at
or
a
whatever,
venue,
very
it was
strategic.
always very strategic.
They knew who to place on the left side, who on the right side,
Yeah.
and had nothing to do with tribe.
So I think at the moment, like my good friends,
Omera, chill.
yeah, I think my good friends from the Kisii community are a bit excited.
Yes.
But they need to chill out, because if they continue surrounding him, he's gonna be labeled as a tribal kingpin, and we're gonna go back to that cycle that we were in.
But Ali, don't you think that even whether he did this or not, he was already labeled that way because kuna vile and Maraga is also in the mix from what we see. So to me, naona hiyo vote yao ni split.
Why are you saying he's gonna be labeled as a tribal?
Either way,
kingpin? But he was already labeled, because when he went to Kenya for the first time, he went to
Yes.
Gusii Stadium to
Yes.
a Heroes Welcome.
Yes.
Right? And I know they tried to capture the Kibaki, the Matiba. You remember when Matiba came from the UK in 1992? And the way people at the airport waiting for him, like the whole country was excited, even though Matiba was brought in to split Ford. But you do remember the way he came. I think he wanted that effect, but that doing that effect in Gusii Stadium doesn't really talk along. Nikama, and I'll be honest here and say, I know most people will feel mad, but let's be honest, it's just like what the new party is doing, Yakina Rigiji. Yes, you guys, you talk a lot, you have rallies, but in Central, to Kenya Central.
So again, I think this is a false start, but yeah, you have something you wanted to add.
So I think Rikiji has realized that there's the cloud of being a Kikuyu kingpin over him.
Yes.
And that's where the cousins is coming from. I don't know if you've been on the internet,
Yes.
but Hi Cousins is his way of saying that, yes, I'm Kikuyu, but I have many cousins that support me, other Bantu communities, and that's what he was talking about when he was in, was it the coast? Yeah, he was at the coast, yeah.
Yeah, he was, and that's the thing, and that's the thing. Let's be honest. We want one term to be a reality, right? If we want one term to be a reality, the only time we ever did something like this, the whole opposition ganged up together.
Again, the number
The
to call.
whole time we defeated a sitting president, the whole opposition ganged up together.
Okay.
If these guys don't gang up together, which I hardly see them doing, one term itakuwa two term.
All right. Number to call 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. Mika anasema if the opposition does not unite, we might one term itakuwa two term, itakuwa 10 bila break, and that's a very scary prospect to even think about. Again, the number to call is 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. We'd like to hear from you. Apa Estamulusa anasema witching hour is an English term. We are good people here. Okay, all right. So hiyo witching hour Miss Jessica. And then anasema when the witches in England did their magic at Chimalavandu, our land has just being excised for an electric fence around the Kakamega forest without compensation. We are livid. And I can see also Ruth Wanjiru is also tuned in from the West Coast. Esther Mulusa nasema Shimalavandu is a dangerous narrow road that killed people. It's not about human violence. The road has since been made into a dual carriageway, which has stopped the carnage. And then anasema 3 a.m. is the English people's witching hour. Washeke anasema Mika, you have a good point. Diasporans crumble to kiss politicians' ass when they come here.
Wow.
And Washeke says, and we still socialite politically in our tribal cocoons. And I can also see a Kenya Doyo all the way from Houston, Texas is tuned in again. The number to call is 202-683-4570. Press *5 to speak. I know people also
Ali,
tuned in
before you
YouTube.
go on,
Yeah.
Paula, to cut you off on
Yes.
YouTube, just to welcome Val. Val is here. Karibu Val, she's on YouTube. And to all our my YouTube fans, kuna watu hapo, they're not talking. Ongeni, now's the time to talk.
Yes.
All right, back to you, studio.
All right, thank you so much, DJ Moshfire. Now I want to come back to you, Sheila. You were there during the honeymoon phase of Ruto's win in 2022. You were still living in Kenya. So you were there when all that craziness was going down. From where you sat, did anything hint that we were barreling towards a full-blown uprising? From when, he got elected, of course, there was the euphoria. But as a few months started going, was there any point you started feeling that things are not right, na mambo itaharibika? Ama did the uprising come as a surprise to you?
I think I'll start by saying that 2022 was actually the first time I voted.
Okay.
Yeah. So in terms of did I see the uprising? No. I don't think anybody saw this. I don't even think the security forces in Kenya even saw this. But I think what we saw in 2022 was a lot of, I don't want to say mob mentality, but I think, group thinking is even worse. A lot of moving with the crowd, a lot of hustler versus dynasty. And it showed that, yes, we have an economic disparity in Kenya. I think the numbers right now is that basically the kind of inequality that exists in Nairobi right now is South Africa apartheid levels.
Wow.
So there's a very big disparity between the poor and the rich. And that's what Ruto fed on for his 2022 election. However, the script that the masses would now turn on Ruto, I can't say I saw it in 2022, no.
Okay, that was not visible.
No.
What was it that convinced people in 2022? And I'm not going to ask you how you voted, but if you feel sufficiently philanthropic, you can tell us.
No one can hear.
Yeah, but what is it that that made people convinced that this is the guy who will deliver us from Gondwana land to Canaan?
People say Ruto is a master politician, which to some extent I believe. And then go back to the hustler versus dynasty. And his opposition was basically Uhuru sponsoring Raila.
Yes.
And those are people who've run for office over and over and over again. Uhuru has been president before. These are people whose fathers were people in the Kenyan government. So that campaigning, that us versus them campaigning can be very, not intoxicating, but can be very influential to the mind. And I think that's why a lot of Kenyans jumped on that bandwagon. And we also have a tendency as Kenyans to look for our savior in politics when we should really be looking at reforming our institutions.
Okay, reform our institutions, and you still did not answer the question, but that's okay. We can get back.
I didn't vote for Ruto, by the way. Let me premise
thank
that.
God.
I did not.
Hiya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, thank
All right.
God.
Okay, so.
What? But can I ask another question behind that voting thing?
Sure,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So, why didn't you vote before 2022?
No, I wasn't 18.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, sawa. So, at your first...
hiyo swali yako lakini
Hapana, si...
Hiyo swali yako mazee kuna vile
So, niwache tu mimi niulize. You know, I have a reason why.
Yeah.
And it's because my nieces and my nephews, I think prior to 2022, were not even feeling like getting a voter's card. They were not even feeling like, even if they got a voter's card, it would make a difference. So, for the last two elections, for those who were able to vote, they just sat it out.
You have a very strong point.
They sat it out and they didn't want to know.
I think people under 30, most people under 30 were not thinking
They
about
did
voting.
not want to know.
Yes, but-
Somehow in 2022 is where there seemed to be a little bit more. I don't know if it was. I don't know if I call it excitement, or they actually went and got voters cards and voted. The ones who, let me put the ones who were still not sitting it out. Let me just put it.
Yeah,
that way.
and I think a lot of people who put Ruto into power were millennials. You know, like, I'm sorry to say, it was my
Yeah,
generation.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it was
true.
millennials. Those are the ones who are excited. You know, like we were seeing them online with these UDA shirts. And it was all the way even up at diaspora. I mean, right now, wote wameingia gizani, wameingia chini ya maji, but we know who they are.
Lakini pia tukisema tu kweli, millennials actually kwa hizi generations zetu zote ukiangalia, millennials na boomers are the most tribalistic.
You mean millennials and X?
No, boomers.
So,
X, at least wako na kanini, X wako na kabampa cause X walikuwa ndo X wengi ni most X ndo walikuwa ni watoto wa urban rural migration, like wa kwanza, so there was a lot of intermixing with them and nini, at least wali interchange. Millennials kina sisi ndo tunasema kasi ndo second generation ya urban rural migration, and sisi unfortunately cause si tulianza kuvote when from 2002, right? From 2002, and then after that tuliingia at a very bad tribal cocoon. Na if you just look around us, even at upper diaspora nini, you will see how much tribalistic we are, as Wangeshi has said. It's usually the guys, the older than us, our parents, who didn't know anything different than us. Na sisi, the younger, they're younger kids, not their older kids. Si tuko na tribalism ingine mbaya sana.
Okay, yeah. So sawa. So
It's
I
Waweru,
can
not Wangeshi.
yeah. So I can see hapa Award is tuned in, and also Sasha Spice Africa says shaking it off is hard because the diaspora has failed us for as long as they meet politicians. They don't care what is happening back home. Some of the US groups I am in, some men older than my dad can't reason beyond tribe, and that is where the problem is. What they can't believe is that we millennials cannot be compromised. That was our mission. Gen Zs took over by facing the guns. Gen Alpha will have it better than all of us because they are not tribal, and we have made the way for them. Africa will be free soon. With the integration between us and the black diaspora coming back to Africa to invest, when we suffered to get licenses because they were for Asians and Europeans, but now even African Americans and Caribbeans are coming back. Believe me, we are so close, and I am telling you as someone who brings a lot of African American and Caribbean investors to Africa, things are shifting at a very fast rate, and politicians are so worried. We shall be free so soon, but the elderly diaspora must stop funding tribalism. It is also hard to save hungry people. Right now, almost every African I know has a business, and that is our power because we are becoming financially stable in Africa to be able to free ourselves. So quite optimistic comments there. Now, you know, like some truths there about the diaspora, because I think the problem that happens in the diaspora sometimes is that kuna watu wanatoka na hiyo kabila Kenya and then they freeze in time, because when you come here you freeze in time.
Yes.
So this is how you left things, and especially these ones who haven't traveled back home for a long time, they have a tendency to sometimes be the most potent when it comes to mambo za ukabila na nini, because they are frozen in a certain time. They expect you to because you have a certain name to behave in a certain way. Yeah. So
Unakwanga politically correct.
Hey, Mika, usichome.
okay, Mika, say it the way it would be said on the ground.
Ni watu wa Ocha ndo wanahizo tabia.
Hey,
Okay.
Mika yawa. Umesema ati watu wathika ni? Sorry.
Vile kwa politically correct, ni watu wa Ocha ndo wanahizo tabia. Si ati stuck in time, wametoka na ukabila yao kutoka pale wametoka, wamekuja America. Unajua kitu moja tu usahau ni nini? You can turn yourself into an African American. Unaweza turn uonge kama African American everything. Wanasema you can take the girl out of the village but you can't take the village out of the girl. Something like that, right?
Yes.
The fact is how you are bringing, it's just like in America, right? We thought there was a lot of diversity to Mezoiana and everything, but then how you are brought up, dinner table conversations are coming to show up right now. Racism didn't go away, it was just silent. It's the same thing with us. tribalism didn't go away just because you're in America. It was just silent. But now you've gotten a chance to show it off. You're showing it off with brightly as you can.
So that was Mika's opinion. Your comment ya watu wa Ocha.
So
It has nothing
nasema
to do-
si
it
comment
has
ya
nothing
One
to
Mic
do-
Show.
Has nothing to do with the One Mic Show.
Ah,
That is
hiyo ni
Mika's-
yangu. Mwenye
that is
anataka
Mika's
kuja
opinion.
nipige.
That is
beat
Mika's
me.
opinion.
Me I stick na
But-
watu wa Thika, but endelea.
But there's a certain cohort
Oh, sorry.
that was stuck in time, and like even in the conversations, ukisikia hata vile wanaongea na comments zao, you I mean, it constantly
Wacha.
comes out,
But
and I think
Mika is
that's-
right. I don't know if it's so much about
Yeah.
watu wa Ocha. I think it's just for all of us, it's all your
Your
background,
upbringing,
which
pale ulireziwa.
yes, how you were raised,
Yeah.
and your belief system. Since it's already entrenched in you, then you come over here, and then Mika's right. One thing that happens, you freeze in time,
Yes.
because you have that disconnect. Unless you go home and reconnect, and then you get your wires,
Yes.
connected or disconnected from
Yes.
when you left, and then they're
Get
connected again. Yes,
deprogrammed,
deprogrammed, whatever you
yeah.
want to call it, right? Unless you have that touching the earth every X amount of time, at least a year, you really disconnect, because it's a very fast-paced changing environment, and that whole tribalism thing, it's going away, because if you see like the younger kids, the younger generations right now, tribe for them is not, they don't even know what is that thing
They
called
don't
tribe.
see the benefit of tribe. They don't
Yeah.
see the value of
They don't even
when
speak the
tribe- when
languages.
tribe does-
They've
when the
seen-
tribe doesn't take care of them. And you
They've seen the negative side of tribalism, but on the other not so nice part about what's happening is that they're losing the languages, they're losing
Yeah,
the
yeah.
culture,
culture,
yeah.
and they're losing.
Yeah,
So it's a mixed bag here and there.
But the thing is this: how do you value the culture? Something about culture. When you want to preserve culture, you have to show the kids like what value are they getting in maintaining our culture. What are they seeing? Like you see, like right now, one thing I like about this generation is they're so immersed into music. They're so immersed into music that to a point whereby they're going back to their roots in themselves. We saw with urban tone walirudi kwa gengeton, kwa muziki ya kitambo wakati wa ngoma huko. We are seeing like the house music guys, they're going back to Kikuyu songs, all Kikuyu folk for songs wanarudi huko. If you're looking at the urban disco, urban blues music, wanarudi kwa ngoma za Kijaluo na za Kiluo, like they're going back to the culture they're looking for. So musically, they're trying to maintain their culture. In other aspects, they're doing rurashios, koitos, nyombos all over the place. Like they're taking in that tradition. They've brought back matatu culture as it was. They're enjoying that. They're going back to their culture.
Mm-hmm.
They are nitpicking. What they're not picking from their culture is the Mutuetu narrative. Right?
Okay.
Because this Mutuetu is not helping me in any way. This Mutuetu is actually harming me. Because they know, they're looking at things that this is the most stressed out generation. There's the most stressed out generation because they have nothing waiting for them. Like Wanangalevi, they're seeing the future is bleak. Because if I can wake up and see my older brother still struggling to look for work, and I'm behind him in Akuja, what hope do you think I have?
All right.
And he's not missing work juu ni mjinga, ako sawa, ana kila kitu. So before we blame them on how they're missing of culture, what is culture giving back to them?
Okay, that's a very good point.
Wow.
Number to call 202-683-4570. Press star 5 to speak. You're tuned in to the One Mic Show live from Kilimanjaro Studios. We have Joy and Sheila in the building, and we're here talking about 1 year after the Gen Z revolt. What has changed? What has remained the same? And what comes next? Now, Sheila, I'm gonna come to you, or rather, maybe this time let me go to Joy. Where if we start reflecting back, rather looking from the outside, what struck you most? Because you were already here when the Gen Z revolt happened. Looking from the outside, and I think even in elections 2022, you're already here in the US. Is that correct?
Actually, was in Kenya.
Or
during
you were still in
elections.
Kenya during
no,
that?
I had taken the summer.
Oh, so
off,
you
so I
you
spent
had
3
already
months
in Kenya. Okay,
during
but
the
you had
summer.
already lived for
But
some
I was
time in the
already,
US. Okay, all right, good. And during the revolt, you're here. So from the outside looking in, what struck you most about when the protests unfolded last year? What surprised you maybe about the level of the anger, or maybe the speed at which things moved? What struck you the most?
I would say what struck me the most was the fearlessness. I think people just were at their wits' end.
Mm-hmm.
They were just at the end. They just didn't care. At that point, I think how social media was able to bring people together so quickly, spread information about what was in the finance bill in all these different languages. This happened in a matter of a few weeks. They say, okay, we have this finance bill. It is incredibly ridiculous how high they want to tax us. We're going to come together. We're going to print posters. We're going to, people, there's this app that people were using as walkie-talkies, and the owners of the app actually were like, in 2 weeks, 30,000 people that have downloaded our app that allows people to communicate like the police walkie-talkies.
Oh, wow.
So it was
that's
just
outside the network, outside the phone network. Wow.
yes.
Okay.
So it was insane how quickly people came together, young people, and they were on the streets and they were unafraid of police. People were on top of police vehicles. There was really no fear. People went into parliament. It was a joke until it wasn't a joke, and people were in there. You know, it was very fearless.
Guys were smoking tear gas.
People were smoking tear gas
And
we
returning
just didn't
tear
care.
gas.
They were like, oh, we want the other flavor. This one's not good enough.
Haina ladha,
Haina
haina
ladha.
ladha.
Mtulete ingine. So it's like the fearlessness, and I think what the political class underestimated is the exhaustion that the Kenyan people had. And it had started way before Ruto. This is not just because of him. I think the general public exhaustion started with the Ruto regime.
Okay.
Things had already started spiraling at that point, and I think it's one of the reasons Ruto was elected. People were exhausted. I remember I was in a supermarket before the elections. I was in Kenya at that time, and some guy was just yelling, Uhuru shuka tumechoka. So randomly, he didn't know anyone, but you could just tell that people were just exhausted at that point. And I think that's what even fueled Ruto to come into power, is because here comes someone to save the poor. The us who have been struggling for this Uhuru regime for the last 10 years, things have gone bad, we miss Kibaki, you know, there was all of those sentiments about the economy, and that catapulted him into power. And then for him to take people back to that level of exhaustion, I think people were just tired. They were like, okay, we're not doing round 2 of this.
Now, interesting you say that there was exhaustion, and maybe that's the reason why Ruto came into power. Do you feel like we might also be falling into a similar trap to where we were? Because as you can see right now, same situation. Ruto was Uhuru's vice president, but he was completely sidelined. And now we have Rigiji, who was Ruto's deputy president, and he was not only sidelined, but he's been impeached. And
Same
now he's
story,
talking against Ruto, and he's becoming,
Popular,
like a folk hero. He's even coming to the diaspora, and I can already see meetings being organized, town halls and everything. So do you feel like we might be, slowly, without knowing, getting into the same trap?
I want to be optimistic and say we can't do the same story twice. Unless they come with a new story that we haven't seen. But this one, I don't think so.
Okay. But Rigiji is popular.
That's good, and that's good. We need someone who can engage Ruto, but on the side. We don't want him vying or for anything.
Unajua nini, Ali?
Yes, Mika.
I'm agreeing with her in I don't see. I wouldn't see. It's hard unless we have a conversation with Rigiji to elewe, and he has to have a lot of conversations with a lot of people, especially in Kenya, to convince them that then it's not just this, they're not singing from the same hymn book.
Same script.
Yeah, because Rigiji was for everything this government was until he wasn't.
Exactly.
Until he got kicked out.
Yeah. Yeah, he was for everything until he was. So the moment he was kicked out, that's when he became an enemy, and he started saying this government does this, that is, that is. But sir, you were there, you were supporting it, right? Even police brutality. He himself said you cannot go and dance in front of a police and expect a kiss.
If you remember last year on June 25th, after people broke into parliament, the first person to go on TV was actually Rigiji. It wasn't Ruto.
It wasn't Ruto.
Yeah. So like for me, I'm like, why are we even sitting here to
So-
be convinced by people? We saw the disregard for human rights.
Yeah,
We saw
so
the
the thing-
disregard for human life.
the
So why are
thing
we
that-
sitting to be convinced?
The thing that Kenyans are looking for and are needing right now is new blood, right? And that is why you see this guy came from working to the World Bank and tried to come in because he's been off politics. He looks like new blood. He didn't negotiate for Nusumkate position. They lost, he disappeared. Now he's coming back, he's looking new.
Let me remind you
But then we
Sorry.
remember him when he was the interior minister and everything that happened under him as the interior minister.
Yeah.
We have people like Kina Natembea who all of a sudden wamekuwa too populous and they're talking and they're doing stuff, right? So Kenya right now is unpredictable. I will say that. I cannot call anybody. I cannot call the elections for anybody.
I think we have
It's
to
a
be-
very unpredictable boiling pot that what do you call it? This Korean, is it Korean? Or this Asian soup whereby everything is thrown in. Alafu we ukichota, what you get is not the same thing that Ali is going to get.
Yeah.
So depending na vile unachota, that's what you're going to get. That's where Kenyan politics is right now.
Yeah, in Mount Kenya, it's called Dhufumwaki.
Yeah.
Yes, let's...
Wow, Ali, wow.
Let's
You
come
went
back.
there.
Sheila was saying
Yeah.
something, and then also Joy wanted to say something.
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot we forget when it comes to these legacy politicians. Because remember when Uhuru was president, what did he tell us? He told us that every day we lose 2 billion to corruption. So anybody who was sat in that Kamkunji that was losing 2 billion to corruption daily, I'm sorry to say, how are we entertaining that person? Just question.
And you see, he's a hero. He was welcomed in Dallas. He was welcomed in Minnesota, and now he's been welcomed in Kenya to another hero's welcome. So, these things worry me when I see them personally, because it feels like we had an opportunity.
Yeah, I was gonna say who's hero? 'Cause
It feels like it feels like we had an opportunity, but then again, the opportunity is being lost. Joy.
I think we should be careful about new things, because sometimes we think new things are the answer to the problem that we have just because we don't understand them. Like, for example, with Ruto, right? He was new. He was not part of the Uhuru Odinga family.
but
he
how-
was
but
new,
how was
and that was
Ruto new?
exciting.
No, how-
no,
how
in
is
terms
Ruto
of no, I'm talking about like the new ideas that people bring, right? It's like it's normal mwananchi versus the elite.
He was
The
repurposed.
idea, the repurposed idea, it resonates with people. The other thing actually that I feel like the new idea is going to be problematic, and
Chicken
I feel
farm.
like I can find another, the chicken farmer narrative that really resonated with
that's
Kenyans.
Yeah.
Hustler.
Most of the population are literally chicken farmers. They're normal
But
people,
then-
and they felt that they were being seen. We have political amnesia, and that's a whole other conversation.
Okay, Mika, ngoja tuongee na Unomike amekuwa hapa mkimya sana.
Yeah. Sawa.
Tell us something,
Tupute kazi.
Unomike. Yeah, watu hata hawajakusikia hujasema kitu.
Yeah, who are
You've
you?
just been enjoying on the side.
Wewe ni nani?
Yeah, Ateke.
Who are you? What are you?
What the hell are you looking for?
Yes, Unomike, talk to us.
Kana young Luo, sorry. As you are.
Mr. Thika.
Yeah.
Any.
I mean, a whole lot has been said. I think I'm looking at the glass half full, because things happened 6/25/2024 that led to things happening that we never thought would happen.
Yes.
For example, we know the supposed rejection of the finance bill.
Yeah.
Cabinet
Dissolution of the cabinet. Yeah.
right? And as Mika said, a handshake that we never saw coming,
Yeah.
blindsided us,
Totally.
Raira.
Baba can do no wrong.
Exactly, according to Omosh. And in still within that frame, the resolution with which not only Gen Z but even millennials, kulikuwa na good, there was an awakening that has happened. Like you said, kuna watu wameenda chini ya maji, guys who are supporting Ruto.
Yeah.
They may not come out and say it publicly, but you can tell.
Yeah, wameenda gizani. Walikuwa wanatusumbua.
Ile
One
mbaya.
of them is Itumbi. I've never heard of Itumbi again.
Yeah, I know.
No,
Itumbi
is-
by the
is
way.
there?
I
Itumbi
blocked
is
him.
there.
I
I
never
think
seen
you
him.
blocked him. Sister.
William Block.
Maybe.
Bado akona kanandre huko.
Yeah, those are kina Itumbi. Those are the modern day home guards.
Yeah, modern day.
Those are the modern day home guards.
They're the
So-
ones who pay the chaps who are
Yeah.
doing making the noise now.
Yeah.
I think when you look at what has I think people expect big monstrous movements, but I think what matters most is what is bubbling beneath.
The
They-
marginal gains.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Finance bill being read in different dialects. Let's think about that.
Yeah. That was
Okay.
Yeah.
In Kikuyu, in Doluo, in Omosh, in Shimalavandu. I mean, when you look at it, it's being translated. People are understanding. People started reading or
Yes.
learning the Constitution. People started the procurement procedures. People now are have started learning about when we get a loan, it has to go into a consolidated fund. Like
Yes.
there are the small things.
The small marginal gains, and those things cannot be reversed.
They cannot.
Yeah, they're in people's systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
The rights with which, because once you understand the Constitution and the rights that you have, and this has actually been magnified more after Albert Ojwang, because now you start learning the procedure
Yes.
of
The details.
and the procedure of what happens if you're summoned, if there's libel, if I say something against you,
Yeah.
that has nothing, that I should not be arrested unless there's a warrant, there's something. Then if you're taken, you have to be
Charged.
you have to
You have
report,
to be-
you
yeah.
have to be taken to the local whatever. Then you have to be transferred. Then there's a procedure. So you're learning that there is a procedure, and that is provided for within
Within the law.
the law.
Yeah.
Many people did not know that.
Yes.
Because the powers that be, I think the Akina Joy and Dani have said that there was we were not oblivious, we just don't know. So the abuse of power by these guys, the politicians, and how they use cops and how they use that to terrorize people, like even these goons and gangs or whatever.
Yeah.
At one point we would be terrified, but now
And we're gonna be talking about that
Yeah.
later on.
so
Yeah.
I think those are I think when you look at when you break it down, at least when you start looking at it like
from a granular level.
there has been so much gain.
Okay. Aya, sawa sawa.